The Ghosts of Ashen Valley. It was the summer of 1986 when I first heard of Ashen Valley. My grandmother, a stern but warm hearted woman who loved folklore, would speak of it in hushed tones, warning me to never venture near its borders. She'd sit on the porch of our creaky old house, her fingers knitting endlessly as she spun tales about the valley's cursed inhabitants. The spirits there are restless, she said, her voice quivering ever slightly. They're trapped, tethered to the valley by a darkness they can't escape. People who go there never come back the same. Back then, I dismissed it as an old woman's attempt to keep a curious teenager from wandering too far. But her stories never left me. They lingered in my mind, haunting the edges of my thoughts like an uninvited shadow. I couldn't help but wonder what was really out there. Years later, as an adult, I found myself drawn back to my hometown after my grandmother passed away. The old house stood exactly as I remembered it, worn but sturdy, its walls steeped in memories and the faint smell of lavender. Sorting through her belongings, I found a tattered journal tucked away in a wooden chest. Inside were entries about Ashen Valley, not just stories but detailed accounts. One entry read, June 12th, 1948, the whispers came again last night. They call my name now. Always the same plea, help us. Another. October 3rd, 1953, Mary Collins went to the valley. They found her a week later, wandering the woods with eyes that didn't seem to see. She never spoke again. The entries fascinated and terrified me. They painted a picture of a place that was not just cursed, but alive with malevolence. Despite the warnings etched into those yellowed pages, I felt an inexplicable pull to the valley, as if some unseen force was beckoning me. The decision to go was not made lightly. Armed with a flashlight, a notebook, and my grandmother's journal, I set out one overcast afternoon. The valley lay about 3 miles from the house, hidden behind dense woods that seemed to grow darker with every step I took. The air grew heavy, carrying an unnatural stillness that pressed against my chest. When I reached the valley, the first thing I noticed was the silence. No birds chirped, no insects buzzed. Even the wind seemed afraid to venture here. The landscape was eerily beautiful, rolling hills covered in ashen gray grass that gave the valley its name. In the center stood an old church, its spire crooked and its wooden doors hanging loosely on their hinges. As I approached the church, a chill ran down my spine. The closer I got, the more the air seemed to hum with an otherworldly energy. Pushing open the doors, I was met with an interior that was both grand and decayed. Pews lay toppled and broken, and the stained glass windows depicted not saints, but twisted figures with hollow eyes. Who dares enter this place? A voice whispered. I froze. The voice was faint, like a breath carried on the wind, but it was unmistakably real. Gathering my courage, I called out, I'm here to understand, to help if I can. Laughter echoed through the church, low and bitter. Then, one by one, they appeared, figures cloaked in translucent gray, their faces twisted in anguish. Their forms flickered like a dying flame, and their hollow eyes bore into me. Help? One of them hissed. You cannot help? No one can. Why are you here? I asked, my voice trembling. The spectre stepped closer, its features becoming clearer. It was a woman, her face marred by what looked like burns. We are here because of him, she said. The preacher. He bound us to this place, condemning us for eternity. The preacher. My grandmother's journal had mentioned him briefly, a man named Reverend Elijah Ward, who had arrived in the valley in the late 1800s. He was said to be charismatic, drawing people from miles around to his sermons. But as the entries suggested, there was a darker side to him. What did he do? I asked. The woman's face contorted in pain. He promised salvation but delivered damnation. He used us, sacrificed us to feed his own power. When we tried to leave, he cursed us to remain here forever. A low moan rippled through the church as the other spirits joined in, their sorrow palpable. We are trapped, she continued. And so are you, now that you've come. Panic gripped me. I stumbled back toward the doors. but they slammed shut with a force that shook the entire building. The spirits began to circle me, their forms swirling like smoke. Wait, I shouted. There has to be a way to break the curse. Tell me how. The woman paused, her expression softening slightly. The curse is tied to the book, she said. Elijah's book of prayers. Destroy it and perhaps we can finally be free. Where is it? Her gaze shifted to the altar. Beneath it, hidden in the hollowed out base, was a leather bound book, its cover adorned with strange symbols. As I reached for it, the air grew colder and a deep, guttural voice filled the church. Leave it be, the voice commanded. The temperature plummeted as the spirit of Elijah Ward materialized before me. Unlike the others, his form was solid, his eyes burning with an unnatural light. You dare defy me, he thundered. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I held the book aloft. Your reign ends here, I said. With a roar, he lunged at me, but the spirits of the valley rose to block his path. Destroy it, they cried. I threw the book to the ground and lit the match. As the flames consumed it, the church began to shake violently. Elijah's screams pierced the air, a sound so inhuman it made my blood run cold. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. When I opened my eyes, the church was empty. The spirits were gone, and the oppressive weight that had hung over the valley had lifted. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time, bathing the ashen grass in golden light. I returned home, carrying with me the knowledge of what had transpired. Though the spirits of Ashen Valley were free, the experience left a scar on my soul. To this day, I can still hear their whispers in my dreams, a reminder of the darkness that once dwelled there. And so the valley stands quiet and empty, a place where the past lingers but no longer holds sway. Some say it's just an ordinary stretch of land now, but I know better. I know it's a place where courage defeated evil and where the ghosts of Ashen Valley finally found peace.